Quiz? Which quiz? Okay. Do quiz? I will try to answer. Who's the president that has a long period of the time? Marcos? Marcos? I remember Marcos. I don't know that exact name, but Marcos. Today I will watch the history of the Philippines in 12 minutes, and then I need help to you guys, so that's why I did now. Because Filipino history is very difficult to me, so yes. When I ask question, answering my question well, okay? Now, let's go.
The history of what is today the Philippines started with the arrival of its first humans. It is believed they used rafts or boats around 60,000 years ago, with groups of diverse people settling in the archipelago. Some of these groups started to develop and expand into bigger settlements, and in the next thousands of years, they evolved into what some scholars believe to be considered early states.
So it means, it is not exactly defined when people come to Philippines first, right? No one knows, right? That I understand correctly.
Austronesians and afterwards speakers of the Malayo-Polynesian languages began to arrive in successive waves beginning about 4000 BC. According to the existing evidence, a jade culture existed on these lands, starting with the Neolithic era. By 1000 BC, it is believed that the inhabitants of the archipelago had developed into 4 distinct kinds of people: tribal groups, warrior societies, the petty plutocracy, and the harbor civilizations. Also important to note.
It is very, what is that? It is very interesting how they can make a ship and then long distance trip, the very in the past, how they can visit Philippines. Philippines is island, so it's very far from the like ground. So wow.
Is the fact that the metallurgy reached the archipelago due to trade with India. Around 300 to 700 AD, the seafaring people of the islands began to trade with the Indianized kingdoms in the Malay archipelago and the nearby East Asian principalities, adopting influences from both Buddhism
a lot of
and
religions
Hinduism.
exist, that's why.
Some cultures of present-day Vietnam showed evidence of an extensive trade network. Artifacts and goods were traded, such as glass, agate, or gold. There were also other items present in the region which were most likely imported, including ear ornaments that have been found in archaeological sites in the Philippines, Thailand, and Taiwan. The Indian culture influenced the Southeast Asian region, starting with the 1st century. During the period of the South Indian Pallava dynasty and the North Indian Gupta Empire, Indian culture spread to Southeast Asia, and it reached the Philippines, which led to the establishment of new kingdoms largely influenced by the Indian culture and traditions.
First, Philippines is Indian culture countries? Very in the past first? First is India, right?
The date inscribed in the oldest Philippine document found so far, the Laguna copperplate inscription, is 900 AD.
What is that? There is
From the details of the document, written in Kawi script, the bearer of a debt, Namwaran, along with his children, is cleared of a debt by the ruler of Tondo. This is the earliest document that shows the use of mathematics in pre-colonial Philippine societies. A standard system of weights and measures is also demonstrated by the use of precise measurement for gold and other items, as well as in astronomy. From the various Sanskrit terms and titles seen in the document, the culture and society of the Manila Bay were that of Hindu Old Malay amalgam.
Manila Bay? That Manila Bay, right? That Manila Bay sand white? Manila Bay white sand? That is same Manila Bay? That is same?
Amalgamation similar to the cultures of Java, Peninsular Malaysia, and Sumatra at the time. In the years leading up to 1000, there were already several maritime societies existing in the islands, but there was no unifying political state encompassing the entire Philippine archipelago. Instead, the region was divided into numerous semi-autonomous.
Wow, Philippines has a lot of island, right? I think 1, 3, 4, 5, 6. Big, about big island 10, and then small island a lot, right?
City-states under the rule of the plutocracy, while a number of states existed alongside the highland societies. These smaller structures alternated between being part of or being influenced by larger Asian empires like Maya Pahit. Around 1225, the nation of Mai, a Buddhist pre-Hispanic Philippine island state centered in Mindoro, flourished, attracting traders and shipping from the kingdom of Ryukyu to the Empire of Japan. Chao Jakua, a customs inspector in Fujian province, China, wrote the description of the barbarous peoples, describing trade with this pre-colonial state. Its people were noted for their honesty in trade. Much of what is now Indonesia.
The first is Japan. Japan is the first country?
Was ruled by the Hindu Maya Pahit Empire. During the 1300s, this empire ruled over Luzon Island and the Sulu archipelago. As more and more influence was on these islands, skirmishes and battles also existed. Some local tribes were waging incessant guerrilla warfare against them. Eventually, the kingdoms of Luzon regained independence.
I heard Luzon. Luzon is the one of the biggest part in the Philippines province, right? Luzon. I heard.
From Maya Pahit after the Battle
Luzon
of
is a
Manila,
kingdom.
1365. Sulu also re-established independence, and in vengeance, assaulted the Maya Pahit province of Brunei before a fleet from the capital drove them out. The start of the Islamic era in Indonesia set the collapse of the Maya Pahites as its provinces eventually seceded and became independent sultanates. In 1380, Makdum Karim, an Arab trader born in Johor, arrived in Sulu from Malacca and brought Islam to the Philippines. Additionally, Sharif ul Hashim, an Arab Muslim explorer, established the Sultanate of Sulu by converting its previous ruler, the Hindu king Raja Baguinda, to Islam and then marrying his daughter. The Sultanate of Maguindanao rose to prominence at the end of the 15th century. Meanwhile, the religion was introduced to the area by Muslim missionaries and traders from the Middle East, Indian, and Malay regions who propagated Islam.
That's why the Islam religions comes. Interesting. Philippines have like, what is that? Buddhist, then Christian, and then Islam. 3 religion have. The biggest religion is 3.
Sulu and Maguindanao. As before, when Buddhist and Hindu cultures influenced the archipelago, the same case happened with the Muslim culture. Upon the secession of Brunei from the Maya Pahit Empire, they imported the Arab emir from Mecca, Sharif Ali, and became an independent sultanate. The new religion started to grow roots in the Philippines through conquest and conversion of local leaders in the next decades. Moreover, Islam was further strengthened by the arrival to the Philippines of traders and proselytizers from Malaysia and Indonesia.
Now Spanish. Now Spanish
the Spanish
time.
reached the archipelago through the expedition around the world,
Now
led
Spanish
by Portuguese-born
colonized.
Spanish explorer Ferdinand Magellan. Claiming the islands he saw for the Spanish Empire. He established friendly relations with some of the local leaders and converted some of them to Roman Catholicism. Because the Philippines are a large archipelago, the Spaniards started to explore many islands. However, the explorer Ferdinand Magellan was killed during the Battle of Mactan against the local ruler Lapu-Lapu. Over the next several decades, other Spanish expeditions were dispatched to the islands. In 1543, an expedition was led to the islands, naming them Philippines in honor of Philip.
Now that is colonized by Spain, right? And then that time, Spain make ASEAN number one. Number one? What is that? The more first university in Philippines, right? USP? USP? USP is right, the first university in Asia.
Of Austria, who became Philip II of Spain on January 16, 1556. The name was then extended to the entire archipelago later on in the Spanish era. European colonization began in earnest when Spanish explorer Miguel López de Legazpi arrived from Mexico in 1565 and formed the first European settlements in Cebu. Through diplomatic and military annexation of some lands, incorporating local states including the Kingdom of Tondo, the Spaniards established Manila as the capital of the Spanish East Indies. In 1578, the Castilian War erupted between the Christian Spaniards and Muslim Bruneians over control of the Philippine archipelago. The Christian troops were so diverse due to generally being made up of people under the Spanish rule, including Native Americans, namely Aztecs, Mayans, and Incans, who were gathered and sent from Mexico and South America to be led by Spanish officers that had worked together with native Filipinos in military campaigns across Southeast Asia. The Muslim side was
so many peoples are there. Spaniard, Native Americans, Aztec, Mayan, Incan, Native Filipinos. Oh, a lot of peoples are Filipino.
Was also very diverse though. They were supported by the Ottoman Empire, with their troops consisting of Malay warriors and expeditionary forces sent by the Ottomans, which included mainly Turks, Egyptians, Swahilis, Somalis, Indians, and others. The conflict ended with a status quo antebellum.
Yes, I know. You guys are colonized by Spaniard. So that's why your languages is mixed. I heard a lot of Tagalog. A lot of Filipino languages is very similar with Spanish, right?
20 years after the conquest of Luzon, remarkable progress existed in the work of colonization of the islands and the spread of Christianity. A cathedral was built in the city of Manila with an episcopal palace. Other monasteries and churches were built across islands, and more people started to convert to Christianity. Furthermore, Spanish and Mexican families settled in the new lands, creating stronger communities. Much of the archipelago came under Spanish rule, creating the first unified political structure known as the Philippines. Spanish colonial rule saw the introduction of Christianity, the code of law, and the oldest modern university in Asia. The Philippines was ruled by the Mexico-based viceroyalty of New Spain, and after...
That university is UST, right? Before I said UST.
The colony was directly governed by Spain. Many of the local people revolted in the next centuries due to some abuses made by the Spanish authorities. Their rule ended after the American-Spanish War at the end of the 19th century in 1898. The Philippines became a territory of the United States. The United States then established the insular government to rule the Philippines. In 1907, the elected assembly was set up with popular elections. The U.S. promised independence in the Jones Act to the country, and the Philippine Commonwealth was established in 1935 as a 10-year interim step period to full independence. But before gaining total freedom, in 1942, during World War II, the Philippines was occupied by Japanese forces.
Japan, my god. Not good. Japan. That time, Korea also have colonized.
1945, the US liberated the Philippines, and the Treaty of Manila in 1946 established an independent Philippine Republic. The period of their independence was marked by internal skirmishes and a smaller period of dictatorship, but also huge progress and development, with Manuel Roxas becoming the
조지
first
바티콜론
president of the
슈퍼채팅
independent
탱크 유소
Republic of the
머치아트.
Philippines. The United States seceded its sovereignty over the Philippines on July 4th,
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Joji Batikolan. Salamat po. 100. Thank you.
1946 as scheduled. However, the Philippine economy remained highly dependent on United States markets. Roxas died suddenly of a heart attack in April 1948, and the Vice President Elpidio Quirino ruled the country until 1953. Some communist partisans existed in the islands but were defeated in the 50s. Additionally, an important event happened in the middle of the 1960s. Ferdinand Marcos took power in 1965 and
Why only he do president so long time? Only he? Before him is only 4 years, but only he did more than 20 years.
ruled until 1986. This era included the final years of the Third Republic from 1965 to 1972 and the Philippines under martial law 1972 to 1981. His reign was marked by dictatorship and instability. In 1986, Ferdinand Marcos was removed from power and replaced by Maria Corazon Aquino. Up to the present day, 5 other presidents ruled the Philippines.
And then now president is Duterte, right? Good. For your help, I can understand a little bit more. So thank you guys to help me to understand Filipino history. Thank you. Which quiz? Okay. Do quiz. I will try to answer. Okay, quiz. Do quiz. But not difficult, okay? Ask me, not too difficult. Tell us where Luzon is located. Luzon located? I think there is near Manila, right? Near Manila? I think Luzon is near Manila. First, when is the independence of Philippines to the United States? How can I remember that age? Age? No. How can I remember that year? How can I remember? I only see one time. How much for year? Plant at the back. Sorry, I don't know what that means. Who's the president that has a long period of the time? Marcos? I remember Marcos. I don't know that exact name, but Marcos. Marcos, right? Marcos. He's right. What is the oldest university? UST, I remember. Spanish, made by university, I remember.